"Get out." He didn't even look at her when he said it. Snow rushed in as the door slammed shut. She stood barefoot on Christmas night, shaking, abandoned, and the most feared man in Korea saw everything. The door closed behind her with final weight, sealing warmth, safety, and memory on the other side. Snow struck her face like sharp needles, melting on her skin, soaking through the thin fabric of her dress within seconds. Her feet sank into the icy ground, pain flashing up her legs before fading into numbness. Christmas lights blinked along the street, soft and cheerful. Mocking her still body, he had thrown her out as if she were nothing. Her name was Hana. Moments earlier, she had stood inside that house holding a small box wrapped in paper she had reused carefully. Inside was a scarf she had stitched by hand over many nights. She had imagined this moment differently. A quiet smile, a thank you, maybe even forgiveness. Instead, she was called weak, a burden, an embarrassment. She did not argue. She never had. When she tried to speak, his hand opened the door. Cold air rushed in. He pointed outside. His voice was calm, tired, finished. Out. Not tonight. Not ever again. The door closed. Hana stood there, stunned, her breath breaking into thin white clouds that vanished into the dark. Snow fell heavier now, thick and silent, swallowing sound and color. A car passed, then another. Headlights washed over her face and moved on. No one stopped. She began to walk because standing still felt like giving up. Each step burned, then dulled. Her toes felt like stone. Her fingers curled into her sleeves for warmth that did not exist. Her mind drifted in and out, clinging to the rhythm of movement. One step, then another, just reached the next light. She did not know that someone was watching. Across the street, a black car waited, engine low, windows dark. Inside sat a man whose presence bent rooms without effort. He was not loud. He did not rush. His power came from stillness. They called him the Korean Mafia King. His name was Kong Min-J. Min-Jae had lived many lives before this one. As a young man, he had worn a uniform and followed orders, learning discipline through hunger and fear. He had lost friends whose names never left his memory. He had learned that silence could be stronger than violence, and patience more deadly than rage. He had built his empire carefully, not through chaos, but control. He valued loyalty, restraint, and those who endured without complaint. Christmas meant nothing to him. It never had. He was on his way to a quiet meeting, one that would decide futures without headlines. Then he saw her dot at first. She was just movement in the snow, a fragile shape fighting against the night. But as the car rolled closer, headlights caught her face. Her eyes were glassy with pain, yet focused. Her lips trembled, but she kept walking. There was fear in her posture, yes, but also pride. The kind that refuses to beg, even when the body is failing. Min-Jae felt something tighten in his chest. He had seen fear before. He had caused it. He had survived it. This was different. He told the driver to stop. The car slowed beside her. Hana flinched when warm air brushed her skin. Years of learned caution screamed at her to run, but her legs no longer obeyed. She swayed. Min-Jae stepped out into the snow. Without a word, he removed his coat and placed it around her shoulders. It was heavy and warm, pressing comfort into her bones. She looked up, startled, eyes wide. His voice was calm, steady, almost gentle. "You were freezing." Her knees buckled. He caught her before she fell. Inside the car, heat wrapped around her like a forgotten memory. A blanket covered her legs. Someone placed warm water in her hands. No one asked her questions. No one demanded answers. Min-Jae watched her closely. He saw exhaustion carved deep into her face. He saw bruises hidden under fabric. He saw the quiet panic of someone used to blame. She whispered that she had nowhere to go. Min-Jae nodded once and said she did now. They took her to a quiet place, far from noise and fear. Not a mansion, not a hideout. A simple building where people healed before moving on. Clean sheets, soft light, silence that felt safe instead of threatening. Hana slept through the night and into the next day. When she awoke, sunlight touched her face gently. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she realized something was missing. Fear. Days passed. She was given clothes that fit, food that warmed her stomach, time that did not demand payment. No one watched her with suspicion. No one reminded her of what she owed. A woman checked on her each morning with a quiet smile and left without hovering. Hana learned how to breathe again. Min-Jae visited only once. He sat across from her, posture relaxed, eyes observant. He did not fill the silence. He waited. Finally, he asked her what she wanted to do with her life. The question froze her. No one had ever asked her that without conditions. Her voice shook as she answered that she did not know who she was yet. Not Minjae considered this, then said she was already ahead of most people. He offered her a choice. She could leave with enough money to start fresh and protection to stay safe, or she could stay, work, learn, and rebuild herself slowly. Hana chose to stay. She began with small tasks, cleaning rooms, helping prepare meals, organizing files. She worked quietly, carefully, grateful but not desperate. She listened more than she spoke. She noticed patterns. She noticed people. Minjae noticed her noticing. He tested her without telling her, gave her responsibility, watched how she treated those with less power, watched how she handled pressure without raising her voice. She never abused trust. Months passed. Hana grew stronger, not louder. Strength returned to her posture. Her eyes held focus instead of fear. She learned skills, learned boundaries, learned that kindness did not require suffering. Meanwhile, the man who threw her into the snow searched for her. When he learned who had taken her in, fear replaced his confidence. He sent messages filled with apology and excuse. He begged through others, promising change. Minjae did not answer. Eventually, he invited the man to a quiet meeting. There were no threats, no raised voices, just a simple room and a simple truth. Minjae spoke calmly. You left her to die. The man tried to explain, tried to soften his actions, tried to turn cruelty into misunderstanding. Minjae stood. Strength is not shown by who you control. It is shown by who you protect. The meeting ended. The man's world collapsed, not through force, but isolation. Business partners disappeared. Doors closed. Trust vanished. Hana never asked what happened. She did not need revenge. She had freedom. Years later, another Christmas arrived. Snow fell gently, softer this time. Hana stood by a window, warm and steady. She ran a program that helped women escape abuse, offering safety, skills, and choice. Minjae watched quietly from a distance. He never called himself her savior. He had simply refused to look away. Some people are pushed into the cold when the world should protect them most. And sometimes, salvation arrives, not with noise, but with quiet strength and a steady hand. If this story moved you, comment where you are watching from, and what moment stayed with you. Subscribe for more stories that honor silent heroes and unseen battles.